Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex P. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys. Saturday, May 24th, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you on a holiday weekend in the United States, obviously, with it being Memorial Day weekend. And we are here for our one and only weekend show for the Ice Guys this weekend. We'll take care of you for the entire weekend as far as the Stanley Cup playoffs and the conference finals are concerned. We will preview both games this weekend. Obviously, tonight we got Game 3 in the Eastern Conference Final with the Carolina Hurricanes and Florida Panthers. And we will also get you ready and talk about Game 3 in the Western Conference Final. Edmonton Oilers hosting the Dallas Stars, a matinee affair. Make sure you remember that. We have a 3 p.m. Eastern puck drop tomorrow for Game 3 of the Western Conference Final. So we will preview both games here on this edition of the show. We will not have a Sunday edition of the Ice Guys show, but we will be back on Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern on Memorial Day for that show. We'll make it brief. We'll make it quick on Monday. Get in and get out. We know it's your holiday. You want to get back to swimming and barbecues and the fireworks and all the festivities I'm sure you got going on. So we'll definitely make it a quick show on Monday on our Memorial Day edition. And we do have some show-related breaking news to drop on you right now.
This is breaking news from the Ice Guys.
Yeah, the breaking news is just our next Betcast date. We've got one Betcast confirmed for sure coming up this week. We will be with you on Tuesday night for Game 4 of the Western Conference Final with the Dallas Stars and Edmonton Oilers. Of course, that game begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and it will be a Patreon exclusive live Betcast. We may add a second Betcast, but it's dependent upon whether we get the Florida-Carolina series to extend beyond 4 games. So that's just really what we're waiting on right now, but we will definitely have one for you on Tuesday coming up this week. Again, that's Tuesday, May the 27th. It'll be Western Conference Final, Game 4, Dallas versus Edmonton, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and we will be, of course, on just for our Patreon members with that Betcast. So again, looking forward to that. It's been a very entertaining series so far. There you see it, Tuesday, May 27 for Game 4, Patreon exclusive, live Betcast, Tuesday night, May 27th. Make sure you join us, and the way to join us is become a Patreon member, $10 per month, patreon.com/iceguys. Before we get into the recap of last night, obviously we mentioned it on the show yesterday that our good friend of the show, he was on our Betcast the other night, Jason Demers would be rocking the Ice Guys hoodie on NHL Network during NHL Now yesterday, which he was part of with Catherine Tappan and Corey Schneider. And like I said, he looked like $1 million wearing that thing on the show. So great stuff. Love to see it. It took a while for the damn camera to get a close-up shot of Jason throughout the show. Like, it was always the far-away shot, like when they had guests and everything, and so they had to make it a wide shot. But finally, we got the better images there later on in the second hour. But shout out to JD for wearing the Ice Guys gear. Awesome stuff. And it was pretty cool, and great response from, I'm sure, a lot of the people listening and watching the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I was texting people before, letting them know to check out NHL Network, and then to finally see it. Like I said, we got to see him stand up and do a segment a little bit later, and then thankfully they got clipped and put on Twitter as well. So if you haven't seen it, like I said, follow us on Twitter. We retweeted everything there. But just super awesome of him to rock that for us. You can get that exact hoodie at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We got 2 days left with 20% off, and we knocked a couple of bucks off of the price of that men's hoodie in white. So if you want to get the look that JD was rocking, you can grab that right now and save over at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
There you go. Make sure you check out the Ice Guys store, get your gear, and get your merch. I was shocked when they wrapped up the show doing the prop bet segment that Catherine Tappan was kicking their asses there on the prop segment. She's like second on the standings for those NHL Network folks behind Rupper, who's got the lead.
I think
So
she hit something like 23-1 though on one of the
yeah,
episodes, and that's how she
yeah,
jumped in the lead. But yeah, JD's got to pick up. JD's gonna have to start listening to us a little bit more so he can get
I
back in
know.
that race.
Exactly. Yeah. Listen, he needs the ice guys to help him out with that segment, no doubt. Let's talk about last night. It was not quite the pace, obviously, of game one. It would be very difficult to match the pace of game one. It was just, scintillating, breathtaking action in game one, back and forth, back and forth. Edmonton's leading. Dallas comes back and takes advantage of the slew of power plays that they had, obviously, in game one. To come back and win in the third period. Last night, the pace slowed down a bit, but it was still a very entertaining game for the most part. You look at it, and obviously the Edmonton Oilers, you knew they would come out strong, and they did that. I think what set the tone for the night, and what started to get me thinking that it was going to be maybe Edmonton's night, was the fact that early in that game, they took that penalty. They actually got the first penalty, Edmonton. And here we go. Dallas, an early power play, and it couldn't have been a better penalty kill performance on that first Stars power play for the Oilers. And I think that really galvanized them, that really got them settled into the game. And then once that game continued to go on, they got their first power play about a few minutes later. And of course, they make good on it as Ryan Nugent, no chance for Jake Ottinger, as it was a double deflection. I think it hit something on the way, and then the puck just deflected right to Nugent Hopkins at the side of the net, and he had an easy tap in to give the Oilers a 1-0 lead. And it would stay 1-0 for quite some time through the rest of the first and into the second period. And all this time, Edmonton at 5-on-5 was been in complete control of the game at 5-on-5. And to be honest with you, it was kind of reminiscent of game one for the most part, where at even strength, you can't deny it. The Oilers have been better than the Stars so far through 2 games of this series at even strength. And they've just done a great. They haven't given Dallas a ton. And when they did have those great chances, Skinner, and that's why we got the shirt today, as you can see, had to rock the Skinner shirt today after a performance like that. But when they had their chances, he made the saves. There were some good chances, though. There were a couple of in-tight opportunities the Stars had, and they either missed the net or they partially fanned on the shot. It was that kind of night for Dallas offensively. I think Edmonton was great on the defensive end of the ice. I think they checked well. They were checked very well, and they were played very hard defensively all over the ice. Skinner was obviously a lot better last night, even though in game one, some of those goals couldn't be faulted to him, but still, he was better. But I think also part of the reason why Dallas was blanked at home was I don't think their offensive execution was crisp or sharp. There were times where they fanned on shots, clear opportunities where they missed the net. There was one in the second or third period when they were, I think it was the third, when they were down 3-0 by that time. Mason Marchment's all alone in the slot. All alone. Like there's no one around him, and he doesn't even hit the net. It was that kind of night, really, for the Dallas Stars in terms of their offensive game. Wyatt Johnston, in an opportunity when he had, it was a short-handed breakaway when the Oilers had a power play, and if he scores there, it's 3-1, and maybe there's a little glimmer of hope at that time for Dallas. And I think he didn't even get all of the shot. He partially fanned on it, didn't get all of it. I think Skinner made a save, but it was an easy save because Wyatt Johnston really didn't get much stick on puck on that opportunity. So, like I said, it was just, that kind of night for Dallas, where they just were not crisp and clean with their execution offensively. And when they did have the chances, and they did get a great opportunity and a clean shot, it was either Edmonton blocking a shot or Skinner making the save. It was that kind of night for them for sure. But really, 1-0 for as long as it was, there was still a chance for Dallas. But then the 2 goals in succession there for Edmonton really, really put Dallas behind the 8 ball at that point. The 2 quick goals that they were able to get. And, I still actually see some people blaming Jake Ottinger a little bit. There's no way you can blame him last night. You're insane to blame him for anything that occurred last night in that game. He really didn't have much chance on any of the goals. I know the goalie, when you lose a game and the other guy gets a shutout, always is, gets some of the blame, but you couldn't have blamed him for any of those goals. The Kulak goal was right off a blocked shot by Dallas. It came right back to him, and he ripped it. It was very difficult for Ottinger to react to that. And then the third goal was a deflection by Connor Brown. It's a terrific redirection, terrific deflection. He couldn't have done anything about that. So 3-0. We all know, of course, what happened in the third period. It's kind of the incident that stole the headlines away from Edmonton tying the series and Edmonton getting the shutout for Skinner and tying it up 1-1. And obviously that's what happened with Darnell Nurse and Rope Hintz. And yes, it was a slash. It was a vicious slash. It was a hard slash. People are Edmonton fans especially saying, he didn't even hit him that hard, and he was diving trying to draw a penalty. No, that's not the case. And because we are talking about a guy in Rope Hintz that has a known history of lower body injuries and especially leg/foot injuries. He's had history with some of this stuff. And so, yeah, it looks like, okay, he's just, hitting him with the stick in the foot. And you would think the foot's protected by the skate and you've got protection there. Well, as multiple former players have chimed in, Paul Bissonnette, Pronger, not everyone wears protectors in those areas. Not everybody. And Pronger had a great post about it. And Pronger's been on television this week doing some studio work for Hockey Night in Canada, and he's done a really nice job. And I think ESPN had him for one night.
Yep, a couple nights.
In a couple nights in the previous round. He's done really well. He said, I've done that to people before. I like how he said that, Pronger. I've done that to people before.
Yep.
And I know he did, because that's the kind of player he was. He was a vicious player on the ice. Chris Pronger back in his day. He says, I've done that before. There's no question that if you hit someone in the right spot with the stick, it could cause damage. He said it hurts. And when all you hear is a thud, it will do some damage. It probably got him on the nerve. It probably got him in the perfect spot. So this notion that, he just hit him in the skate with the stick, no big deal, it can't possibly hurt him, that's a bunch of nonsense. Of course it can. It could be, an unprotected area. It's a guy that's had known foot injury problems in the past. And I am sure that the slash of Darnell Nurse just caught him in an unprotected, bad spot, probably the worst spot possible for Rope Hintz. That's why he went down. That's why he had to be helped off the ice. Trust me, he's not faking anything, and he is seriously hurt if he's being helped off the ice like that. So, the notion that he you should be able to just get up. You shouldn't be able to feel anything. No, that's not the case. So obviously he's gone. Stars fans are upset, rightfully so. That's your top line center. You don't want to see him get injured. He's a big, important player at both ends of the ice. And of course they called it a 5-minute major initially, but I knew right away they're probably going to reduce that to 2. It's just my guess. And sure enough, they did. Now, I said at the time, okay, 2 minutes. I can kind of see it. But then what I did not realize at the moment, and there's so many rules in the NHL, you're not going to always remember the intimate details of each and every single rule in the NHL rule book. But then after the game, we're seeing a few people posted from the Dallas side of things. I know Darren Drager, who works for TSN, posted this. And this is when I got upset about what the referees ruled in this situation with Nurse with the slash on Hintz. The rule for a slash says a major penalty at the discretion of the referee based on the severity of the contact shall be imposed on a player who slashes an opponent. We can all agree that was a slash, right? 100%. 100% it was a slash. Doesn't matter where. As soon as you see someone, slam the stick against any part of the body. Doesn't matter if it's chest, back, leg, wrist, hand, foot. Doesn't matter. A slash is a slash, and that was clearly a slash by Darnell Nurse last night. So that definitely was a slash, and that 61.3 in the rule book says slash an opponent. When an injury occurs during that slash, a major penalty must be assessed under this rule. Not could be, not might be, must be. The rule is it must be a major penalty for a slash to a player when that player is injured. And clearly, Rope Hintz was injured because he's being helped off the ice. And right there, it should have been a major penalty. Now, if you say I don't see why, based on the result of the slash, it should be a major. That does not matter. What matters is you have an NHL rule book, a rule book where everything that is determined on the ice is supposed to be made based on that rule book. You are supposed to abide by it, adhere to it, and whether you agree with the rule, that's if you disagree with the rule, that's a different thing. But the rule in the rule book says that any slash that injures a player should be a 5-minute major penalty. And now after reading that, I'm aghast. I am befuddled. It's mind-boggling to me that was reduced to 2 minutes after seeing that. And now if I'm a Stars fan, I get why you're upset. And rules are rules. Exactly. Why have a fucking NHL rule book if you're not going to abide and adhere to the rules in the rule book? It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of paper. It's a waste of putting a PDF document on the NHL website with the rule book on it. You're wasting everybody's time if you are not going to abide by that. So you could say, well, I've seen worse slashes too. It's not about how bad the slash was or how soft the slash was. It's not about, obviously, the situation with how that it hit the foot. It wasn't a slash to the head or, the neck or the chest or anything like that. It was still a slash. It hurt Roope Hintz. He had to leave the game. And the rule book says that any slash that injures a player should be assessed a major penalty. And in this case, it wasn't. And it's in your rule book. Explain that. Hard to explain that. Why have a rule book if we're not abiding to it? So I get why the Stars fans are upset. Now, obviously, look, you're going to have to play better going into Edmonton at 5-on-5. That's a concern to me. It's also concerning now that this is, a shutout and 3 straight losses in the playoffs now for Dallas. Each of their last 3 losses in the playoffs have been shutout losses. Where has their offense gone at times? And that's now 4 times they've been shut out in the playoffs. That's got to change. And their 5-on-5 play has to get better because they are not going to be able to win this series exclusively scoring on the power play. And we saw that last night because Edmonton penalty kill turned it up big time. So obviously they were the second best team last night. Edmonton was the superior team, clearly deserving of the win. But if I'm Dallas, I get why you're upset about the Roope Hintz situation and how that was not a 5-minute major, when in the league's own rule book, it says that any slash that injures a player should be a 5-minute major. Why was it not in this instance? Hard to believe it. And the referees should be held accountable for this. Everybody, referees, the video that they were talking to, in Toronto, to make this decision to reduce it from 5 to 2, they should be held accountable for this too. It's in your league's own rule book that it should have been a 5-minute major penalty because it caused an injury. How do you not adhere to it? How do you not uphold the rules that are stated in your own rule book? How does that miss happen? You either don't know the rule book enough. Maybe we need these people studying it more in the off season. Maybe that's it. Referees don't really know every little nuance and detail of the rule book, or neither do the replay people. So, like I said, it was a bad look. It's a really bad look when you've got that in the rule book, and it's circulating all over social media now after that incident last night, and the NHL just blatantly does not adhere to it. So bad night. And look, I think there's and here's the thing, Stephen, great point by Steven Jackson. They're not NFL refs yet. The NFL has got real issues. That's about the worst officiated sport, I think, going right now. The NFL. It's beyond bad. Like some of the roughing the passer penalties in the NFL, they're a joke. They're a complete and utter friggin' joke. Some of these roughing the passer penalties. I think that sport is horrifically officiated. But there are signs that the NHL is becoming more like the NFL as far as bad calls, bad misses, certain referees not having a clue what the rule book is. And we saw that last night. It's an issue. And it's something they're going to have to deal with, no doubt. But obviously going into Game 3, the status of Hintz, we'll have to wait and see. It would be a big loss because of how important, he is. There's pass interference is pretty bad too, how they miss some of those in the NFL. But like I said, that was not a good night for officiating in the NHL when It's clearly in a rule book that this is supposed to happen when a certain incident happens or a certain infraction or a result of it happens, and you don't abide by it. Just makes you look rinky dink, makes you look Mickey Mouse. When you have a rule book there that states clearly in black and white, and you're not abiding by it, it just makes you look bad. It makes you look bad as a league, and that's the shame of it all. Alex, your thoughts on Game 2 last night in Edmonton tying the series?
Yeah, like I said, you covered it very well. I mean, Edmonton came out, got that first goal, and they were able to really just stem the tide, kill that crowd momentum, and play a solid road game. And the hints hit, like I said, that slash that definitely had a lot to do with just kind of taking, just like I said, just that whole atmosphere just kind of changed. Having him out and just and seeing him too, not being able to even put weight on his foot once he got off the bench. That was just, that just sent shockwaves, you could tell, through that team and through that building. And that kind of put the seal on that game really for Edmonton. Dallas didn't have much punch late, even though there was a couple of good looks and chances, but it still wasn't the Dallas offensive punch you're used to seeing down a goal, down a couple of goals. So that's the thing. The loss of a player not only does it obviously change your lineup, but it can change your psyche mentally too. No bigger than Tampa. We saw in Tampa, Florida. Toronto, Florida, with Anthony Solars. So you have to overcome that if you're Dallas. Yes, you're going to be short Rupert Hintz, but you've been short many players throughout this year. You started the playoffs without Heiskanen, without Robertson. So you've been able to navigate these waters missing a key piece. Everybody's just going to have to step up and play a little bit harder. He said the fact that you're going on the road, we talk about this during the regular season sometimes, and I think it looms larger in the regular season, but it still doesn't mean that that's something relevant in the postseason. Getting away from home after you've had now 3 games, at home, getting on the road, maybe that clears your mind and keeps you focused on the narrow. I think that might be a plus. The fact that you're going on the road, playing an earlier start time for Dallas, it's now kind of ramp up your head. Hey, we can get over what happened in Game 2 a little bit quicker. We don't have to wait till the night. We're gonna be ready to roll, and it's gonna be a business trip these next couple of games. That's the mindset you have to have. Yes, you got screwed on the call. Yes, you're down a player, but you have to bypass that. This is the time of year where your mental toughness has to be 100 out of 100, and you have to bypass through things that navigate, tough things that would navigate you, that would drag you down during the regular season. You have to push through it now. So that's my message for Dallas. But with Edmonton, they have to kind of copy paste what they did in Game 2 to Game 3. Dictate the pace of play early, keep puck possession on their side, and be physical. Now you don't want to see dirty hits like what we saw with Nurse again. And I'm sure Dallas is going to come back twofold, if not threefold, at number 25 during that game. It's probably going to be real chippy.
The one thing Matt told us,
early.
Matt Robinson, our guy, is that he was disappointed there was not an emotional response to it immediately after in the third period of last night's game. That they just felt like they kind of didn't do enough to kind of address it.
Yes and no.
Yeah,
I always want to see an immediate response too, but it's the playoffs, and you want to be measured, and you don't want to have somebody do something real stupid like we saw Jamie Benn do a couple years ago, and then he gets a 5 in a game or gets suspended 1 or 2 games. You know what I'm saying? You want to be measured with your response back, and getting on the road, doing it at home, you have a chance now to be measured with your response, and it doesn't have to be deliberate. That's it. Just like we saw Darnell Nurse completely hide a dirty hit. These guys know how to hide dirty hits too. So it's gonna be interesting. The off puck play, and I was telling people this when watching Florida Carolina in that blowout, and I was saying, watch the play off the puck. Watch the play off the puck, and that's when you'll start seeing the physicality ramp up. No, you're not going to see just a bunch of scrums after every whistle and guys dropping the gloves, but you're going to see those hits off the play. As soon as a pass is being made, you're seeing guys finish those checks. You're seeing guys hitting a little harder, sticking the arm, sticking the elbow, sticking the leg out a little bit more than usual in the corners. Watch for that early. And then we'll get that'll be part of watching the pace and tempo of that game too, as far as totals are concerned. Looking at first period over, because I do like overs. I like first period and full game, but I'll be measuring that and looking for that live, and that's one of those things I look for, seeing what's happening off the puck. If you're seeing a lot more physicality and where the refs are going to have to get involved and make a call, maybe make a call each way, that's something to keep an eye on when we're talking about live betting.
Yeah, no question. It's definitely, and we kind of think that's going to be, it's definitely going to be one of these situations where we do expect it could be a little bit sloppy tomorrow. We're going to get to that when we preview Game 3 for Edmonton and Dallas in just a bit. But yeah, as far as Dallas is concerned, Jason Robertson was better last night. I actually noticed him more last night than in Game 1, no question. But just snake bit right now. Offensively. And I don't want to totally chalk it up to, he's playing at less than 100%. There's a lot of people playing at less than 100% right now. But at some point, you need a little bit of offense from Jamie Benn, about as docile as you'll ever see Jamie Benn in a hockey game last night. Yeah. I mean, just very, very indistinguishable last night for the Dallas Stars there.
I will say this, and this might also be the reason why the Oilers are being real careful with Ekholm returning as well. It's one thing to be playing through the playoffs with an injury, but you still have the rhythms in your rotation. To get out of the lineup and be out of lineup and then have to come back in, I think that's where Robo's kind of struggling a little bit. That he needs to still kind of just get his rhythm back, and that's hard for him to do if he was out and he came back, like I said, less than 100%. That's going to make it even more difficult for him to get his rhythm back. So I think it's more of that so much than just the injury itself.
Yeah, I would agree, definitely. So, like I said, for Dallas. Look, you certainly feel different after last night than you were going into Game 2, because you're going into Game 2, you're up 1-0. You didn't play your best in Game 1. You really capitalized on the Edmonton lack of discipline and all the power plays you were given in the third. To overcome the deficit, but you felt like you could play a better game and have a real good chance to take. But why did I like? First of all, Edmonton's been a response team all year and in the playoffs last year. They've been a team that's responded to a bad game and a blown lead and a collapse. That's partially why I liked Edmonton last night. Second reason I liked Edmonton last night and used it as best bet is because Dallas has no history of going up 2-0 in a series. None. Zero. 3 years in a row where they've gotten to the Western Conference Final. Do you know how many times in a series they've had a 2-0 lead? This many times? None. They've just never been. They've never been able to do it. Get up 2-0 on someone.
Even in 2020, when they went to the Western Conference Final, won the conference final. That was the last year they had a 2-0 lead, but that happened in an earlier round.
Yeah, it's been a long time. There's no question. So we don't know this exact. We have no update on Hintz other than it's day to day.
The MRI.
An MRI coming up, and that's going to prove it didn't look good initially. Like, it does feel like it's going to be time missed, and it's just a question of how much time will he miss, Rope Hintz. But again, we won't know that for sure right away. And then there's also the prospects of Ekholm. As far as he might be back for Game 3 for the Edmonton Oilers. So, like I said, it's definitely a situation where, you lose Hintz maybe if you're Dallas for possibly Game 3 and beyond. And Edmonton might have a fully healthy blue line again if Ekholm's back. But, they're not going to rush it. They're not going to rush it with him because it's a serious injury. He's an older player now, too. Matthias Ekholm. You have to keep that.
And now with this series getting more and more physical, that's the last thing you want is to rush him back if he's not ready, and all of a sudden he gets clipped and now he's out, and maybe out longer term than just this series or the rest of this year. So yeah, exactly.
So, like I said, though, this series now, I think it just ramped up a little bit from an intensity and a dislike standpoint. Certainly on the Dallas side, it has. Peter DeBoer was not happy, saying if this was Connor McDavid, in the post-game press conference.
Oh, my God.
Getting a 5-minute major for it. Would they be adhering to that rule? Would the rule in that rule book, it's number 97.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely got to assess a major
penalty. Whoever hit him would have an in-person hearing if they touched 97 like that, and he went down with an injury. Yeah, there would be chaos in the streets.
It's true.
Completely different look. Yeah.
That's what I don't like. It's clear. It's in writing in the rule book that any slash to a player, and that player is injured following that slash, should be a major penalty. Why was it not last night? Why? You just make yourself look foolish as a league. You've got a rule book, and the rules are not being implemented. They're being blatantly disregarded and ignored. Make that make sense. You can't. So no wonder if you're Dallas, you're upset with what happened last night. But that doesn't excuse the fact Dallas got to ramp it up here. especially when it comes to even strength. The difference last night was Edmonton, first of all, they played a good 60 minutes, and they were disciplined last night. They stayed out of the box. And when they did get those few opportunities with the power play Dallas, the penalty kill was a lot better for the Edmonton Oilers, and that's why they were able to win that game last night. One point I will make finally on that game before we get to the two games this weekend as well. Let's calm down with that was the best save of the playoffs from Stuart Skinner last night on Esa Lindell in the third period. That's no. That's not the greatest save I've ever seen. Some people said it's the greatest save they've ever seen. I'm like, not a chance in hell that's the greatest save I've ever seen. It may not even be the best save of the playoffs. I know it was a great effort. It was a great effort, and I know he put the goal stick out, and it was still a great save. Don't get me wrong, but there's people saying it's the best save they've ever seen, the greatest save of the playoffs. First of all, if Esa Lindell elevates that puck into a wide open yawning cage, it's a goal in that situation. And second of all, last I checked, Esa Lindell's not the second coming of Bobby Orr or Cale Makar from an offensive defenseman standpoint. So let's cool our jets a little bit there with the it's the greatest save I've seen nonsense.
Jake Ottinger with the spin around mistake save in the elimination game against Winnipeg was better than that save, and that wasn't even the best save of the playoffs. I think Stolarz in the first round had the best save of the playoffs. That one that we were lauding about. So yeah, that's a bit exaggerated for sure.
More than a bit, in my opinion. It was a terrific save, but save of the playoffs, best save I've ever seen. I saw that. People had that opinion. Best save I've ever seen. That wasn't Cale Makar shooting that puck. It was Esa Lindell, and all he's got to do is elevate it, and it's probably in. Just get that puck a little bit off he shot it right along the ice. And it's what allowed Stuart Skinner to, scamper back to the other side of the post, reach out with the goal stick and keep it out. So, yeah, like I said, terrific effort by Skinner. But like I said, it's come on, greatest save of all time, please. A little much. All right, let's get into tonight. We've got Game 3 in the Eastern Conference Final. Carolina Hurricanes versus Florida Panthers. Florida basically in control right now. Can Carolina do anything to change things and turn the tide here tonight as the scene shifts to Amerant Bank Arena in Sunrise? We've got Florida minus 145, home favorites, the total 5.5 here across the board in this game. Lots of news to talk about. Let's start with Carolina because that's where a lot of the, what exactly are they going to look like as far as their lineup tonight for Game 3? Well, first of all, we can tell you that Jalen Chatfield is still out for the Carolina Hurricanes. He will not be back. He has not played yet in this series. So he is still out of the lineup on the blue line for the Hurricanes. Sean Walker, he left the game on Thursday night in Game 2. He only played 9 minutes, 52 seconds, got injured in Game 2 of that game. And there was talk, though, that, he'd probably be able to, maybe play tonight. Well, it's looking like game time decision, best case scenario right now. For Sean Walker. So we don't know if Sean Walker's in or not, but if he doesn't play, that's two of your starting, two of your top 6 defensemen out for Game 3 here tonight in a game that, I thought you had to win Game 2, to really have your best chance to win the series. This is absolutely the point of no return. You lose Game 3 tonight, you're absolutely cooked because there's no chance you're coming back 4 straight against the defending champs and a team that's ended up, being in the Cup final now 2 years in a row, trying to make it 3. So that would be a blow if Sean Walker's out. What boggles my mind is that, let's say Walker's good to go, and he still might play, and I have a feeling he will, because if he was really feeling really in a bad way with the injury he suffered in Game 2, I think he would have been ruled out already. I get the feeling he's going to end up I think he's going to end up playing Sean Walker. So Chatfield remains out. But what's shocking to me is that, and look, Rod's a really good coach. We know that. He's done his model of consistency here with the Hurricanes year in and year out. They're always in the playoffs. They usually win a round or two. This has been their stumbling block, the Eastern Conference Final, which is now, a 14-game losing streak for the franchise in the conference final. But this is, to me, ridiculous that Scott Morrow is still on this D and in this lineup. That Scott Morrow is still in the lineup. This guy is clearly, from what I've seen in 2 games, he has clearly struggled on the blue line for the Carolina Hurricanes. And you've got this young Russian who you brought over here from the KHL so that maybe he could make an impact. You got him into the series against Washington in the second round. And to be honest, he didn't look like the moment was too big for him. He was throwing his weight around. He was physical. I thought he shot the puck with some great velocity, and he made some things like some of his shots from the point, from what I saw when Alexander Nikishin played against Washington, they were dangerous. And so I thought, wow, this kid's showing me that he's probably going to be a good player for them. And it's not so much that you don't trust him or you're worried that he's just such a young player that he's going to falter. It's that he's, by default, he can't be any worse than what we've seen out of Scott Morrow. Has looked lost at times defensively. Game 1 was abysmal for him. And to be honest, Game 2 wasn't that much better. And yet Rod Brindamore's keeping him in the rotation and on the blue line tonight in Game 3 over Alexander Nikishin. Now, Nikishin probably will play if Sean Walker doesn't play, but that's what it looks like it's going to take to get Nikishin back in, is also Sean Walker being unavailable. So I just don't like it. From what I've seen, Morrow doesn't look adept to be ready for Stanley Cup playoff duty right now on the blue line. He's really had a tough 2 games, but it looks like Rod Brindamore is going to keep it the way it is. And probably the only way we see Nikishin in the lineup is if Sean Walker's also a no-go tonight for the Hurricanes. So that's the blue line situation. Up front, it looks like Kotkaniemi's back in, and now Roslovic is going to be the healthy scratch. And look, Roslovic's had a tough series, and he's really had a quiet playoffs overall for the Hurricanes. Kotkaniemi was the healthy scratch in Game 2. Rod Brindamore hoping that a game sitting out, it gives him maybe a little bit of a jolt here. He's back with Stankoven and Hall on the second line. Svechnikov, Aho, Jarvis, and really the other line status quo, Jankowski, Blake, and Robinson, the fourth line. But the biggest news of all is that Frederik Andersen has finally been sat down for Game 3 tonight by Rod Brindamore. Pyotr Kochetkov will get a playoff start, something that Alex B. Smith and I have been clamoring for years, for Pyotr Kochetkov to be given the net, given the opportunity. And what's ironic about this decision by Rod Brindamore is that last year there were times when you can say, you know what, Freddie Andersen, you suck, not good enough. You got to make those saves. I actually think he's played a hell of a playoffs, and it's very difficult to fault him for anything in Game 2 that went in. Even the first goal. Remember on the Betcast, Alex, I said the first goal, it's a horrible goal by Forsling that he gave up. No, off a stick. Forsling shot it. It hit a stick and then deflected in. So even that goal, I can't really blame Andersen for. He really hasn't been the issue, and he hasn't been the issue. Goaltending's not the reason you're getting your ass handed to you in this series. If you're the Carolina Hurricanes, you can't get a fucking shot through to Bobrovsky. And when you do, he's clearly making the save. And there's very little second and third chance. They're clear in the front of the net. There's no rebounds. There's no second, third waves, when the puck is lying there in the blue paint. That's a problem. Meanwhile, that's how Florida's scoring. They're getting those second and third chances and those rebound opportunities. There's no question. And that's a good point by Jonathan. Body language from Freddie, feeling that maybe my confidence is not where it needs to be, even though a lot of the goals he couldn't have done anything about. But when you see the puck go in, you do lose confidence, whether it's your fault or not. And you're right, his body language sucked. After the second and the third goal, I saw that same thing too. Freddie Andersen looking to the bench. Is he going to get pulled? That's not the body language you need. You need to be mentally strong. You got to just dial in and get ready for the next shot, get ready for the next shift. So maybe Rod saw that too in Game 3 and said, you know what, maybe he's not in the right frame of mind now. Whether his fault or not, the goals are going in, and maybe it's, diminishing his confidence a little bit. So that could be part of the rationale behind making this switch right now and going to Pyotr Kochetkov in net here for Game 3, which is an absolute must here for Carolina. So that's the big news, is that on D, it looks like Chatfield's still out. Morrow is still going to be in somehow. And now Kochetkov will be in net for Carolina. For Florida, the big news is Sam Reinhart. We know he took that hit from Aho. Florida was not happy about it, and it wasn't the greatest hit. I don't want to say it was the worst, dirtiest hit I've ever seen, but it was sketchy. It was a little bit sketchy from Sebastian Aho with hitting Reinhart the way he did in Game 2. And now, as a result, Reinhart's out day to day. He will not play tonight. And I know there's going to be people saying, well, that's a huge, and it is a huge loss. But man, if there's ever a team built to survive it, it's the Florida Panthers. And look who they're going to have playing tonight on that top line. Jesper Boquist, who is a guy that has clearly had success playing with Barkov on the top line. Let's not forget, he got a goal and an assist for the Florida Panthers in Game 5 against the Toronto Maple Leafs in that 6-1 win. And he played on the top line that night for the Panthers. So obviously they're going to miss Reinhart. You'd be crazy to say they will not miss him. They obviously will. He's one of the best goal scorers in the NHL the last 2 years. But Jesper Boquist's capable. That's all I'm saying. He's very capable. For 1 or 2 games, at least, filling in with Barkov and Evan Rodriguez on the top line, Jesper Boquist is very capable. And the goal he scored against Toronto, he went to the net. And that's exactly the play you want, the type of play that Florida is known for. Attacking the net, crashing the crease, getting to the blue paint, and scoring goals in and around, in tight around the goalie. So I think it's a good fit. It worked in the Toronto series. Boquist up on that top line. Paul Maurice put Verhaeghe, Bennett, and Tkachuk back together, and they were magical together in Game 2. That line dominated Carolina. So you got to give Maurice is hitting all the right buttons, just like Knobloch is on the other side for Edmonton in the other conference. Just outstanding job. And Verhaeghe, he puts Verhaeghe, Bennett, and Tkachuk back together in Game 2, and look what they did. They were just dominant. You're right. It's like everything he's touching in terms of adjustments and lineup changes, Paul Maurice, it's turning to gold right now. Just incredible stuff. And we know E2 Kuhlman, Lusterinen, Anton Lundell, Brad Marchand have been a great line. AJ Greer, Tomas Nosek, and Jonah Gadjevich have been a great line. Like, where is the bad line? Where is the line for Florida right now where you say, boy, we really need more from that group? They don't have one right now. They don't. And then the blue line, like I've said, every blue liner that's suited up in the playoffs for the Florida Panthers, including Balinskis, the guy that's a healthy scratch right now, they've all scored a goal, at least one goal. Forsling, Ekblad, Mikkola, Jones, Schmidt, and Kulikov. They've all scored at least one goal from the blue line. So, like I said, Carolina's going to have to prove to me that they can get back into the series before I'm ready to trust them to do that. That being said, I'm going to keep this very small because I got burned by this in Game 2, trusting them. But if there's ever going to be a moment here for Carolina, it's got to be early again. So I will sprinkle on them to get a first period goal. Small bet. The bigger bet for me is Florida team total. I'm just going to go back to the well. 2.5's a little bit pricey at most books. We're talking minus 160 or more for the Panthers team total at most books right now. So I don't want to take the 2.5. It's just a little bit too expensive as far as the juice you have to lay with that. So I will go with the at BetMGM, and I always mention them because they give you the half goal increments with team totals. I will go instead with over 3 at a very nice minus 105. Nice cheap price, right around even money. You can get Florida team total over 3 minus 105 at BetMGM. So I like that. Again, this is a team that has been able to score at least clearly, obviously, 3 goals or more in the first 2 games of this series. Their offense is heating up. Yeah, they got blanked by Toronto in Game 6 of the the second round, I should say. But really, other than that, you look at Florida's offensive capabilities: 6, 5, and 5 in 4 of their last 5 playoff games. Outside of that Game 6 shutout loss to the Toronto Maple Leafs, when the Leafs shocked everybody after that Game 5 debacle and played, one of the best games they've played all season to force a Game 7. Other than that, this team has been scoring 5 and 6 like it's a routine thing for them. So, yeah, Florida team total over 3 is what I like the most here, and I will sprinkle on Carolina goal in the first period. Because, like I said, if they fall behind again, it's curtains. It's an absolute must they get on the board and play with the lead for a change, or else there's very little. It's already a narrow pathway to win this game and come back and win this series. Your narrow pathway gets almost, the pathway is almost shut completely for Carolina if you don't score the first goal tonight. It's really that simple. Alex, Game 3 in the East, Carolina, Florida.
Yeah, I don't really see where Carolina gets the energy here to get the first goal on the board. I'm not looking at anything first period at all. I have Florida tied with the over 4.5. That'll BetMGM parlay plus 130. I have the empty net goal combo at BetMGM as well. Empty net goal, yes, plus $1.10. and Panthers to get the empty net goal plus 290. And then there's a couple player props. I am go back to the well with Lucian. I think now with seeing, like I said, having Reinhardt out of the lineup, everybody's going to have to just chip in even that much harder. Even with Boquist being filling that particular spot, I just still think we're going to see those second, third line guys really ramp their game up a step more, just knowing one of their top guys are out. So Lucian definitely back to the well. Another guy that I'll talk about a little bit later. This is definitely one of those games I think where Florida can really they could pretty much end the series tonight. If you come out, you blitz them, you get a 3-0 lead, 4-0 lead early, and like I said, at this point, the goaltending doesn't make a difference. Especially if you can get the Kochetkov and break him mentally. Now you got two goalies that you can't trust, and you're in a world of trouble. I think Florida has that chance to do that. And knowing, like I said, hearing the quotes from the guys that saying, "Hey, we know they're going to bring their absolute A game," and if Florida finds another gear higher than what they've already been playing, this shit could get out of hand in the first 20 minutes. So Florida and that over parlay with the 4.5, couple of goal scores as well. Like I said, the empty net. Looking at anybody to get the empty net plus 110, Florida to get the empty net plus 290. You muted.
There we go. If you're looking for a glimmer of hope, if you're a Carolina fan, I'll give you one. We know Kochetkov is in net tonight. Rod Brindamore making the change from Freddie Anderson to Pyotr Kochetkov. Pyotr Kochetkov started one game this season against the Florida Panthers, and it was in Florida right here at Amerant Bank Arena. Carolina won that game 3-1, and he made 25 saves on 26 shots. He played really well. That's what you're clinging to right now. That's your glimmer of hope that you're clinging to right now. But again, a regular season game on, what was it, February or November the 29th. It wasn't even late in the season. It was early in the season, November 29th. That's a long time ago. And it looks like Florida's kind of transformed themselves into playoff mode and kicking ass mode, which we saw obviously a lot during their run to the Stanley Cup last year. And then you look at the quote here from Sam Bennett about Game 3 tonight, and it kind of tells me that Florida's mindset is of the killer instinct mentality. Go for the kill, go for the jugular. This is what this sounds like from Sam Bennett. He said this earlier this morning. We know they're going to play desperate. This is a big game where you've got to put it all on the line. We know what it feels like. We're definitely prepared. So he's talking desperation like they're the team down 2-0, Florida. And like I say, it's going to take, you know what it's going to take? It's going to take Carolina to get some puck luck, some bounces. And yeah, they haven't had much puck luck and bounces. Get something to hit a Florida player in front and bounce in. They're going to need something like that. And they're going to need Kochetkov to play one hell of a game tonight. That's what it's going to take if they are indeed going to win this game and make this a series. As far as props go, and by the way, every line is doing damage for Florida right now. Every line, all four. It's time to see something from Carolina. If they're going to even make this a series, it's time we see something from Martin, Stahl, and Carrier, Robinson, Jankowski. Guys like that have to step up. They do. Stankoven and Hall have been quiet. The only line that's really gotten anything, I've noticed Aho, I've noticed Jarvis. I think Svechnikov has cooled off a little bit too after a good first two rounds. There's too many, to use the Austin Matthews phrase, passengers right now for the Carolina Hurricanes. And that is absolutely going to have to change here tonight. As far as props go, for Florida, most of the props are going to be Florida because it's hard to have a boatload of confidence in the Hurricanes doing a lot of offensive contributions here. But I think if I were to go with someone for Florida here, for Carolina, I would stick still with maybe a Jordan Martin. Maybe a Svechnikov can get going because he was good earlier in the playoffs. Aho did, get their one of their goals, obviously, in Game 1 of the series. But like I said, it's difficult to invest in Carolina props here because they're not getting any depth contributions right now. At this point in time. But for Florida, you can go in a bunch of different directions. Evan Rodriguez is now 3 straight games with a point, and it's plus money. I mean, you just got to keep rocking with it. And he's on the top line. You could even, for better bang for your buck, you could do the goal and assist split with Evan Rodriguez and see if maybe you can hit both of those. But yeah, Evan Rodriguez is once again to me a great bet, plus money just for him to get a point. Verhaeghe's gotten points in 2 straight. Bennett's gotten 2 points in 2 straight games. Ekblad and Forsling, the 2 rock and pillars, the 2 rocks on the blue line, the 2 pillars, they have 2-game point streaks, both Forsling and Ekblad. And of course, Forsling with the bargain bin special in game 2 for Alex cashing in. Definitely. And as you know, Jesper Boquist, got to bet him now that he's up on the top line for the Florida Panthers tonight, taking the spot of Sam Reinhart. So those are definitely the props that I'm interested the most here when it comes to, and anyone on the third line, quite honestly, because they're dangerous every time they're on the ice and they've had chances. Cool Mint, Lusterinen, as Alex mentioned, Anton Lundell, Brad Marchand, that line has been good. So that's why you want to spread the wealth if you're betting Florida props right now, because they're getting contributions everywhere. And now it's dangerous because obviously the top line, and Boquist has shown he can make an impact on the top line, replacing Reinhart there with Barkov and Rodriguez. The second line, Bennett, Tkachuk, and Verhaeghe, now that they've been reunited, look at what they did in game 2. The third line's dangerous. The fourth line's chipped in goals in multiple games in these playoffs. So that's just a lot to overcome if you're Carolina. You've got to start getting something from your third and your fourth line. And if you're not, you're in trouble. It's really that simple. There's no doubt. So we'll see what Carolina's got in them tonight in game 3 there. And tomorrow, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, a matinee affair, 1 p.m. local start time for Edmonton at Rogers Place tomorrow. Series tied 1-1. Western Conference Final, game 3. Dallas Stars, Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton minus 150, home favorites. Note the total, 6. After it was 6.5 in game 2, we see an under, and now it's back down to 6, the total here for game 3 between the Stars and the Oilers here. So let me start with the pro-Dallas argument. And again, we don't know if Roope Hintz will play. We're going to probably know more later today, or perhaps we won't know for sure until game day tomorrow, but that's up in the air. What we do know is that Dallas is off a shutout loss, and what we do know is Dallas is 3-0 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, off a shutout loss this year. So the one positive about losing that game 3-0 and not scoring a goal is that Dallas has been very good in these spots in the playoffs, coming off a shutout defeat. And they're going to need to inspire every bit of confidence they can from that if they are indeed going to show it again here in this one. I'm just looking back, and yes, this actually last night, of course, the 4th time they've been shut out in the playoffs, but they were shut out 4-0 at Colorado. They won 6-2 at home the next game. They were shut out 4-0 at Winnipeg. They won 5-2 at home the next game. They were shut out 4-0 at Winnipeg in game 6, or game 5 rather, and of course came back home and won in overtime 2-1 to end that series and clinch it in game 6. The only thing I will say about that stat, Alex, and you'll notice this, 3-0 off a shutout loss, all those shutout losses were on the road coming home. Now they're off a home shutout loss going on the road. That has not happened yet for Dallas. And this could be trickier because you're playing a very good Edmonton team, and now you got to go on the road off a shutout loss. You're coming back home. You got your fans. You know, that always gives you energy. And sometimes, it just makes it easier to bounce back off a shutout loss when you're coming home. But now you're going to have to do it for the first time in these playoffs off a home shutout loss going on the road now. So we'll see if Dallas is able to. Look, this is a tricky game from a side perspective. I'm kind of leaning zigzag theory in this series, that it's going to just be one of those series that's back and forth like a ping pong ball, where if you bet the losing team of the previous game, you're going to do pretty well. And at this price, I do have some interest in taking Dallas in game 3 after cashing a ticket and best bet with Edmonton last night in game 2. But I'm concerned about the even strength proficiency or lack thereof from Dallas. Like, they have definitely been the second best team in this series at even strength. And yes, they've had some chances at even strength, but for the most part, Edmonton's been able to put the blanket on them. They've had some chances, and they've either, scuffed the shot, missed the net, hit a post, had the shot blocked, or Skinner's been there to make the save. So you look at it, and Edmonton, other than a bad third period, it's not false to say Edmonton's probably been better than Dallas in 8 of the 9 periods in this series. It was really, 5 of the 6 periods, I should say, in this series. We're really up. The third period in game 1 was really the one period which was a clear winning period for the Dallas Stars. Other than that, you could say Edmonton won period 1 and 2 in game 1, and you could probably say they won period 1, 2, and 3 last night, in game 2. So, like I said, that. Edmonton looks like they've been better for the larger part of this series so far, and that's something Dallas is going to have to overcome. And they're going to have to ramp it up because I'm concerned. Ben, he's got to give you more than last night. We talked about how, last night the Finns were held under wraps. Johnston was held under wraps. After a great game 1 from Sagan and Duchesne with those goals that they scored, they were not much of a factor last night once again in game 2. So meanwhile, when you look at Edmonton, you get your Connor Brown scoring and Danuge gets a big goal early. So, and we've talked about how the depth all playoffs for Edmonton has really made an impact. So like I said, what's really positive for the Oilers, Alex, is usually we don't get awesome Skinner, Hall of Fame level Stuart Skinner in net until game 4, 5, 6, and 7. The fact that we saw him come out to play in game 2, although they did play well in front of him too, that's concerning. Because your thought is we got to try to get as many games early in the series as possible until Skinner gets to that game 4 through 7 form. But unfortunately for the Stars, he found game 4 through 7 form in game 2 last night. And so this is going to make it a little bit of an uphill battle. It will be more of an uphill battle if Hintz is ruled out. I'm still leaning Dallas, and I will take Dallas to get on the board in the first period. Now, the concern with that is Dallas, as far as first period goals in this series, none so far. That would be a concern, right? No, actually, that's not true. Sagan's goal in the first game the breakaway was a first period goal, but they didn't get one last night. But I think they got a potential to get one, obviously, in game 3 as far as the first period is concerned. And I expect a strong push out of the gate from Dallas last night. You were shut out in your last game. For that reason, I expect a strong push early. Not to mention, I think they're pissed about the Darnell Nurse situation. I really think that might galvanize emotion and intensity right off the shoot from Dallas in game 3. Not to mention, how many times has Edmonton played a home game at this time of day on a Sunday afternoon or in an afternoon period? I think Dallas, and Alex definitely follows these kind of things probably even more than I do. Dallas has probably played more of these 1 p.m. Mountain Time, start times throughout the course of the season than Edmonton did. So you wonder if just the earlier start time for this game maybe is something that the Stars are a little bit more used to than the Oilers, perhaps. So does that give them a little bit of an advantage early? I'm going to definitely sprinkle on Dallas to score in the first, and perhaps Dallas first period money line. I don't know about full game because, one thing that's concerning is how Edmonton's played at even strength. They've been better. But I think early in the game, I could see Dallas. I lean Dallas full game, too, because I'm certainly not laying minus 150 against a team that is undefeated in the playoffs off a shutout loss, and that's Dallas. They have not lost a game off a shutout loss. So I don't have interest in this price with Edmonton at minus 150. But I think I can get there with Dallas first period money line split with goal in the first period, which you'll actually get a decent price on it. Because of the fact that Dallas is a plus 130 road underdog here in game 3. For that reason, you'll be able to get, like I said, a pretty solid number and price here for Dallas to find the back of the net. Yeah, you get them below minus 150 for Dallas to score in the first period. So, like I said, I think that's worth a look here. And I like the over by Facta. I think it's just going to be one of those games where we get back a little more to the way it was in game 1. It's a quick turnaround. You go from Friday to Sunday afternoon. This for ABC purposes, because ABC does not do primetime NHL hockey in the playoffs until the Stanley Cup final. So as a result, you're getting the 3 on a Sunday, that is. On a Sunday. If it was a Saturday, I think they'd put it at 8 p.m. Eastern. But
right.
Because it's a Sunday. Yeah, it's a Sunday. There's never been, in my recollection, even on NBC, same thing. There's never been a Sunday primetime game on national over-the-air network television. Just never been that way. So as soon as ESPN ABC knew that game 3 was going to be a Sunday, not a Saturday, you knew this game was going to be an afternoon game. And once you knew it was on ABC, you knew it was going to be an afternoon game. And that's exactly what it is. So I will look.
And wait, guess what's on the air Sunday from 7 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern instead of having the game at night?
Some movie from 40 years ago or something.
4 straight episodes of America's Funniest Home Videos.
Oh, wow. 4 straight.
Four
It's not
straight.
even like new. It's probably reruns.
Yeah, reruns from this past year. Yeah.
Yeah. Shocking. Ridiculous. Yeah. We got an afternoon game for the Western Conference friggin' final of the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs in the afternoon because we can't bump America's Funniest videos reruns from the schedule on a Sunday night. And I love Alfonso Ribeiro. I loved him as Carlton on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He's doing a nice job with that show. Believe it or not, I end up flipping to it by accident, and I'll put it, and I'll actually stop and watch for a few minutes. I'm like, it's not bad. But still, come on, let's screw in and have a clue here. Let's take the temperature of what matters at this stage. The Western Conference Final, Game 3, or reruns of a show that it's a thimble in the rating compared to the major shows that are shown at night on network television. So, like I said, just it makes zero sense, but hey, it is what it is. And the good news about an afternoon game is I think it's going to lead to us capitalizing on betting first period over and full game over, Alex, because I think we're going to get a sloppy game. I think we're going to see it kind of up and down. There's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some defensive gaffes for a game starting this early, and not to mention the shorter turnaround from a Friday night to a Sunday afternoon. So we had a high-scoring game 1. We had a low-scoring game 2, and I think we get back to high scoring here in game 3. Especially with the start time influencing that. So a Dallas first period money line and to get a goal in the first period split, and over 1.5 first period, over 6 full game is what I'll be looking at here for game 3 in the West. Alex, Dallas, Edmonton.
Yeah, we're looking kind of in the same vein. I have Dallas first goal of first period plus 140 you can grab already now at BetMGM. We'll be on that first period over. I'll lay the 130. With that, I could also see a goal in 10 minutes. That would be something I'd be looking at. Maybe Dallas goal in 10 minutes to add a little bit more to that price. And full game over at 6. I'll just wait and try and grab a 5.5 at a little bit better price. I'm fine laying 125, 130 to grab 5.5 here with 6. But I do believe we'll see goals, and I think we're going to see Dallas. Like I said, they know how to play on the road. Like I said, it's important for them to start getting goals early. We've seen them in 2 of the 3 games where they've come back off of a shutout. They did get a goal in the first period. So, that's the thing. Take the air out of the crowd. Do exactly what Edmonton did in your building in game 2. Control the pace, control the tempo, and take the air out of that building. And they can do that with an early goal. And I think they can find their way to getting a victory here.
That's there's something to that they don't feel that the ratings are going to be dismal even with the hockey game on a Sunday night because it's a Memorial Day holiday. I could see that barbecues going on, fireworks going on at that time.
Yeah, right. Okay, you can't barbecue with a hockey game in the background.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
That's
ridiculous. I still don't agree with that. I know Jonathan's trying to give us a reason, but I don't think it's a good enough reason. I think this should be a prime time event, but that's neither here nor there now at this point. As far as props for this, it's really regurgitating a lot of the same players I've mentioned. As far as Nugent Hopkins is a must. I mean, he just keeps on at a great clip. 8 of the last 10, he's gotten a point. 2 straight games with a point for the Edmonton Oilers. I would say too for them that Perry and Brown, and I think Evander Kane too. Like I said, he was pretty quiet last night, but I think that as long as he keeps staying on that position he's in the lineup, he'll eventually get some things rolling for Edmonton right now. For Dallas, Haskin and Harley, I always target those 2 players for points, a goal, assist, or just point prop with them. I think that's worth a shot in my opinion here. It kind of feels like this could be, and remember, with the captain of the Dallas Stars, who I do think might be a little bit banged up, but if he isn't, he's got to be a little bit more impactful. He's a Western Canadian guy, from BC, and I think he probably always enjoys playing in Western Canada when he gets that opportunity. So maybe is this a game where Ben comes to, like Ben too is the captain of a team that is pissed off coming off the nurse incident with Hintz last night. If there's ever a game to maybe buy low on some Jamie Benn stock, maybe it's tomorrow afternoon there in game 3. Something to keep in mind with that. But like I said, I also think, one thing to point out too, and he was quiet, in games 1 and 2. He had the chance on a breakaway last night, didn't score on it. But he's always been a player that I find actually plays better offensively and does more damage offensively on the road, and that's Wyatt. For some reason, Wyatt Johnston's been more of a road warrior, in the 2-3 years he's been with the Dallas Stars in the playoffs. I know he got the big Game 7 goal against Colorado on the power play. But mostly he's done more of his damage offensively on the road. And this could be one of those spots where it's time to trust in Wyatt Johnston again. And he's got to be one of the guys. He's become that important to their offense. We know that with the kind of years he's put together in not only the regular season, but the playoffs for Dallas. So this could be a game and a spot to invest in some Wyatt Johnston props here for game 3 coming up on Sunday afternoon. And I'm looking forward to that one for sure. Like, I've got a Ticat game, a home preseason game tonight that I'll be going to. And I don't feel that much. I don't feel bad at all that I'm missing most of, if not all of Florida, Carolina. I would feel bad if I am missing most of Edmonton, Dallas tonight. But thankfully it's Florida, Carolina tonight, not Edmonton, Dallas. I'll be keeping track on the score, of course, and everything, and I'll stream it during halftime of the Ticats game. But like I said, I'm glad that's the game that's going on. That's the series that's going on tonight when I won't be home, Florida, Carolina, as opposed to Dallas and Edmonton. All right, shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And like I said, this is our one weekend show, so we'll be back with you on Monday. You can enjoy your Memorial Day weekend following this show. And like I said, we've got our Betcast coming up this Tuesday. One Betcast for now. We will only have a second live Betcast this week if we get a Game 5 between Florida and Carolina. And if we do, obviously our Game 5 Betcast for that would be Wednesday. So that's what we're waiting on. Will we have a Tuesday and Wednesday Betcast this week, or just a Tuesday Betcast? And I'm not ready to set it in stone that we're going to have a Game 5 in Florida, Carolina.
I don't think we're going to have one.
I mean, man, they've got to step it up times 10. Compared to what we've seen in the first 2 games, if they are going to not get swept by the Florida Panthers. And like I said, it's definitely going to be interesting. And I don't mind what Brod's doing with the Kochetkov thing. I know it's not Anderson's fault, but it's really to try to spark something, anything.
Got to change something.
It's got to change it up. So that part of his decision-making I like. The Scott Morrow stuff, it boggles the mind why he's still in the lineup. But I do like that he's trying to shake it up. And this is not a slight on the way Freddie's played, but it's to spark things, and it's time to see what Kochetkov can do in a big-time pressure playoff spot, because we know the talent's there, and we know he can steal a game when he's on, Kochetkov. What a time it would be, obviously, for him to maybe step up and get the job done tonight for Carolina. But obviously, we don't know if we'll have a Betcast for that series as of now, but we will have one Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. Western Conference Final Game 4, Patreon exclusive, Stars and Oilers. Make sure you sign up, just $10 per month. Goalie charts, totals charts, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props, posted each and every day on the Patreon page. We'll also have more Player Suite interviews rolling along in the off-season on the Patreon page. Daily card will still be posted on the Patreon page when the NHL season ends. We'll give you bets and a daily card in the other sports that I handicap. Alex might throw in some plays too. For other sports, baseball, CFL football, any UFC boxing stuff, you name it, during the off season, just to give our great Patreon members that keep their subscriptions active through the off season something that they can look forward to in the months without NHL hockey. So make sure you check it out. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping us going long term. Just $10 per month. Patreon.com/IceGuys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. Jason Demers looked fantastic wearing that hoodie on NHL Network yesterday. You can grab that same hoodie or grab a T-shirt or grab one of the other many options we have to offer at the Ice Guys store. And you can save 20% off today and tomorrow. 2 days left to save 20% off on all items. Just hit the redeem button at the home page, add your items to your cart, and 20% will be available taken out at checkout. So don't miss out on that. 2 days left to save 20% off. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
Check it out. Great gear and merch. Jason Demers knows he was rocking it yesterday on NHL Network. So check it out. The Ice Guys store at iceguys.myspreadshop.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgaters Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Hey, Alex, have you checked out the latest with the great trading platform Kalshi?
Yes, I have. It's been fantastic. This is one of the first and only federally regulated prediction markets in the U.S. And if you're looking for odds for all kinds of different things, not just what we're talking about, the markets in the Stanley Cup, the NBA Finals, you can trade with crypto. You can look for trades within the markets involving entertainment, politics. There's all kinds of different markets you can look from, and you can use the odds over at Kalshi.
Time of year to get involved with Kalshi. Certainly if you're a sports fan, Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, baseball now underway, with all the different markets to create winning trades. Make sure you're checking out all that Kalshi has to offer.
Absolutely. And if you're trading with Kalshi, use the link kalshi.com/iceguys. You trade $100 or more, they will send you $10 back. So it's fantastic to use, like I said, any kind of markets beyond sports. We're talking entertainment, politics, crypto, basically anything you want.
So make sure you sign up, kalshi.com/iceguys. Note that it's live on Robinhood and available in all 50 states, making it the first legal place to trade on these kind of events nationwide. Check it out, kalshi.com/iceguys. Shout out to all our great sponsors, Boston Hemp Inc., 20% off using the promo code IceGuys at bostonhempinc.com and kalshi.com/IceGuys. Check out the great trading platform, sports, and a whole lot more. Trading platform, it's an excellent site. Check it out, kalshi.com/IceGuys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. Obviously, we got two games to choose from here, both weekend games, Game 3 in the East and the West in conference final action. Alex, bargain bin special, what do you like?
All right, so I'll give you one for each day. We will start with tonight, Carolina, Florida. Like I said, I think Florida continues to dominate, and I'm going to be going with Anton Lundell, anytime goal scorer. I got plus 400. That was available at BetMGM. Like Anton Lundell, I said that line with him, Luosterainen, and Marchand, they've been rocking and rolling. So I think Lundell gets on the board tonight. And then for tomorrow, Dallas and Edmonton, I'm going to look at the stars. I'm going to go down the board, and I'm going to go with, once again, Mason Marchment. I think he needs to deliver. This would be a great game for him to break out, get back on the score sheet. Plus 420, a price we love, that's available at FanDuel. So tonight we go with Anton Lundell, plus 400. Tomorrow we go with Mason Marchment, anytime goal scorer, plus 420. Those are my two bargain bin specials for the weekend.
All right, good stuff. There you go. For bargain bin special tonight, Anton Lundell, Florida. Mason Marchment, Dallas, for Alex B. Smith with bargain bin special of the night. And I, as well, will go with two bargain bin specials, one from each game this weekend. For Carolina, Florida, as soon as I saw him replacing Sam Reinhart on the top line, I knew that was where I'd be going for bargain bin special of the night. Last time we saw him on the top line, we saw him score a goal against Toronto in Game 5. Jesper Boquist, plus 450, best price available at DraftKings currently. Jesper Boquist for the Florida Panthers, plus 450 in the lineup for Reinhart on the top line with Alexander Barkov and Evan Rodriguez, and I expect him to get on the score sheet and find the back of the net. So Jesper Boquist plus 450 for Florida. And then in the Dallas-Edmonton game, I kind of hinted at it earlier, it's Jamie Benn time. You need your captain tomorrow. He's a guy that's got to step things up a little bit. You're coming off an incident that didn't have anybody feeling happy or good for Dallas, with Hintz getting slashed by Nurse, and now who knows how much time Hintz might miss. I think Ben, the captain's got to grab this bull by the horns and say, I'm leading us tomorrow against Edmonton. So Jamie Benn plus 700 for him to find the back of the net for my Sunday bargain bin special of the night. So there you go. Boquist and Ben for me this weekend. All right, best bets. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Ooh, let's see. We can go between either of the games, right?
Yes.
All right, so then let's go with tomorrow. Dallas to get the first goal in the first period, plus 140. It's imperative that they start out strong on the road, take the air out of the crowd, get some momentum going positive for them early in that contest. Give me the Dallas Stars to score first within the first period, plus 140. That's my weekend best bet.
All right, Dallas first goal, first period. There you go, plus 140 for Alex B. Smith with his best bet. My best bet, I'm going to go to tonight, and I'm just going to keep it simple. Florida Panthers, team total, over 3, minus 105. Obviously, goals have not been a problem for the Florida Panthers. And I know Kochetkov is capable, but this is a Pyotr Kochetkov that has also had some of his biggest struggles in a very long time in net for the Carolina Hurricanes since the Four Nations break. And he's just really had a tough time finding his A game. And it's not going to get any easier finding it against a Florida team rolling on all cylinders, where if you take out Game 6 against Toronto, they have scored at least 5 goals in every other recent playoff game that they have played. So Florida, to keep the foot on the gas pedal. I read the Sam Bennett quote earlier. We know they're going to come out desperate. We've got to match that and be ready for it. We're prepared, and I think they will be. And if they are prepared and they play the way they have, they're just the better team in this series. And again, a 14-game conference final losing streak for Carolina. Florida team total over 3, minus 105 for my best bet here for this weekend edition of the Ice Guys show. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And we look forward to, a nice Sunday off with no show. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. And of course, we'll be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern. And one final time, if you missed it, our next Betcast, Tuesday night, May 27th, for Western Conference Final, Game 4, Dallas-Edmonton, 8 p.m. Eastern, Patreon exclusive. Make sure you join us, patreon.com/IceGuys. Join us for that. Just $10 per month. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern, for another edition of the Ice Guys.